Okay, I wonder if that's, is that having to do with all the problems he's had? or-
How long has Dawson been up there? Terry Dawson?
A long time.
She used to be a cheerleader.
Who's the welder?
Really?
Yes, I.
You know, Gene Agnew?
She was, huh?
Gene Agnew's been there 30 years.
Well, she been there though?
So we need to have our mask on, is that?
I don't know.
I think it's optional. We're, you know,
Okay.
we're 6 feet apart, so.
I'm good.
Yeah, you know,
So we haven't seen it in a long time.
All right. Had about 8 years. And, they stopped baseball. When they stopped baseball up, went to the courthouse. Just the commissioner.
I guess I'll put it on.
That's there 12 years. Went just the priest for another 12 years.
Okay.
To run by you.
Where were you coaching baseball at the high school?
I still was in college.
Oh,
I
wow.
coached college right here. We won the district every year.
Really?
We set the nation.
So you coached baseball at Odessa College?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He won championship 8 years ago. And he quit.
Wow.
Tried to do it, but he quit. I didn't want to say just be a teacher, so. I knew it. That's my courthouse.
Don't elbow. Is it namaste? Namaste. It's better than shaking hands.
Where's More, we can hear better. That might check a while ago, so I'm
Trying to see
hopeful.
what you're wearing.
Yeah, I just have to worry if my phone battery doesn't go in extra.
Mic test 1. Mic test 6.
Tommy, on the financials, there was an insurance settlement on maintenance. And I must have missed a meeting or something. Insurance settlement for maintenance? It's on the financial.
The what? The insurance?
Yeah, it said an insurance settlement.
was it on the roof? On all the
I
roof
don't know,
work?
it just said, maintenance paid by insurance, and I
Was
must
it
have missed
Pecos?
the meeting.
Might have been
I
paid.
know we have some in Pecos that's being paid by
Oh.
insurance.
6:30. Call this meeting to order. It's the notice of the regular meeting for Odessa College Board of Trustees, Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. If we could, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States and Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We'll get into our approval of the regular meeting minutes for February 25th. Give everybody just a chance, if you hadn't had a chance to look at them, and then we'll get into the approval.
I looked at them and didn't see anything. So I'll make a motion they be approved as presented.
Okay, I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Motion from Mr. Shearer, second from Mr. Johnson. We'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would say no. Okay, minutes are approved. Next action items would be A, consider and approve termination of Oberon Solar 1B Solar College Tax Abatement Agreement. Mr. Gary Johnson.
Okay, we have several action items in those particular areas. The first one is the termination. If you remember last year, we agreed to an abatement for Oberon on a solar farm they're building. At that time, they expressed the interest of doing one and possibly coming back later and doing some others. We try to encourage them to do it all up front. That's why we give a large abatement up first 5 years and smaller in the second 5 years. Well, what this is going to terminate that one we had from last year. So whatever they've done out there now, they will pay property taxes on. And so basically what this is that I'll make a motion that we terminate the 1B that we had with Oberon from last year.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Johnson and a second from Mr. Shearer. We will go to vote to consider and approve termination of the Oberon Solar 1B College Tax Abatement Agreement. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed will say no. Okay, that is approved. Gary? You wanna
Okay,
move on?
we'll have to vote on these separately with me, kind of explain what they all are. So what they have done now they've come back and they're going to build the entire project, but it's going to be in phases, well, solar 2, 3, and 4, but they will all start at about the same time. But there are different phases because there's different projects as such. And so what they were asking for here is basically what we had from last time, except like I said, that they're asking for a tax abatement on the property taxes, and the abatement that we have that we've offered to them is like we had last time. First 5 years, 100% abatement. Then the next 5 years is 50%. If you remember, as we discussed one last year, generally the life of these projects are around 20 to 25 years. So and then they say they have to be completely replaced. Usually, I don't know how that works, but anyway. So I guess we need to take any of these separately. So the first motion I have is we approve tax abatement for Oberon Solar number 2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Do we need to have any other discussion for the people on remote or on Zoom? Anybody have any questions?
That is for 150 million on number 2, solar number 2.
And then, yeah, and then 3 was 50, and then 4 was.
And when we get into discussion on 3, I do have a question here.
Okay.
So we're considering 2 right now.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. We'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would say no. Okay, the tax abatement on solar project 2 is approved.
Right. And it was for 150 million, Bruce.
Yes.
I just looked that Okay, the next one is the same, the motion is that we approve the tax abatement for Oberon 3. Let me,
And it says 50 million. I was questioning whether that should have been 150 million.
no, because 4 is 200 million, so the entire project is 400 million, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is, a lot of this on this 3, I think is part of their taking what they didn't do in 1 and wrap it up in 3, if I'm not mistaken. That's the way I understand it now. I don't, yes, and 3 is for $50 million on that one. And again, the motion is that we approve the tax abatement of 100% for 1 through 5 years, 50% for 6 through 10, and that is a motion.
I have a motion to approve the tax abatement for Solar Project 3. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Shearer. Do we need any further discussion or any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would say no. Okay. Solar Project 3 is approved. Tax abatement for Solar Project 3 is approved. Gary, you continue.
Okay, and for Oberon number 4, that is for a project of $200 million, capital investment $200 million. Again, the same abatement, 1 through 5, 100% abatement. 6 through 10 is 50% abatement.
Okay.
And I did have, and I'll just answer now, I had some questions, and I did some research on the company. I don't know if you remember from last time, but this is a South Korean company with offices in California.
Okay.
So if anybody had any questions about who that is, the 174 Power, I think, is actually the company building the project, but the Hua, whatever it is a South Korean company that is probably the financial thing behind it. So anyway, I make that a form of motion that we approve the Oberon Solar 4.
Okay, we have a motion for approval of tax abatement for Oberon Solar 4. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Any discussion from anyone or any questions? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would say no. Okay, the request to approve tax abatement for Solar Project 4 is approved. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Williams?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to recommend that the board continue to, with our agreement with the Schaefer Law Firm for an additional year. We have received good service, and we recommend that they continue to work with us.
Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion. We approve that firm.
Okay, we have a motion to approve Schaefer Law Firm as our college attorney. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second, thank you. Anyone want to ask any questions or have further discussion? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed will say no. Okay, continuation with Schaefer Law Firm is approved. Ms. Ham, financial reports. There she is.
There.
Good evening.
Good
Look
evening.
at that smiling face.
It's kind of
Good
weird.
to see you.
All right. You have in your packet the budget comparison as of March 31st compared to March 31st of 2019. We are sitting right now with excess revenue of $13 million compared to $12 million last year. And if you look at the budget comparison statement, you can see that our revenues are right in line with where they were at this time last year, with 83.1% of the total budget already received. Our salaries and benefits are sitting at 55.1% compared to 53.7% last year. And then our other operating expenditures are trending right in line with 64.3% compared to 66.2% last year. Are there any questions on the budget comparison statement? Hearing none, we can move on to the budget amendments, and we are bringing forward today 3 budget adjustments for a total of $27,900. The first one is gonna be for $2,400 for the Sewell grand opening. The second one is $20,000 for the Children's Center painting. And then the third one is $5,500 for the Sports Center fire alarm repairs. And those total the $27,900. With those three, our budget contingency remains at $553,000. Are there any questions or discussion on those three?
Ms. Ham, just in case there's any confusion, that's Sewell grand opening?
It's
not
grand.
Not grant?
Yes,
Okay. We didn't get a grant from Sewell that we didn't know about, or
we always could.
can we go ask?
We certainly
Okay.
can.
Okay.
So hearing no others, we can move on to the expenditures over $10,000. And I've provided those in your packet. If you have any questions on those, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Brandy, I do have a question on the insurance claims on physical plant.
Yes,
I must have missed something because I wasn't aware of that, so.
Ken might be better to explain this, but the physical plant roof caved in and we had an insurance claim to get that repaired.
Okay.
Did you cover the full amount?
Yeah, hello. If you remember about a year ago, when they redid the roof and they piled on all the asphalt and the roofing material, about a month later, we came in from a weekend and the entire roof just completely collapsed from the A-frame section. So we had to rebuild that entire area, which included some upgrades in order to get it structurally right, and that was covered by insurance and part out of our budget as well to complete that project.
Okay.
And that has finally been completed.
Okay, thank you.
Which one is that?
Thank you,
Down
Ken.
at the bottom, pay app number 2 and pay app number 3, J.C. Roberts.
Oh, okay. Oh, insurance claim, I got you, okay.
Yeah.
I think the one question that I would have is that's pay app 2 and pay app 3. Are we close to the end of the project, or is it ongoing, or do we have a report?
How close are we to the end of that project, of the roof?
Yes.
Hello, back again. We're actually at substantial completion. There's a couple things that we need to fix from a few leaks that come after that, but I received the AIA documents, I believe, Thursday or Friday of last week for substantial completion.
So we probably still have a retainage and then to close out to complete the project?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, we
thank
will.
you.
How much was not covered by insurance? Was it all, or we had a deductible
We
of
had a
what? or-
deductible.
Probably a deductible, right?
Great question. So actually, we were responsible for $25,000 in the deductible. When I had the final invoice, they came in 2 weeks ago or so. They had, with the betterment and the addition, it was almost $54,000. So I turned that back over to Tasby, Kendall Blocker, our adjuster, and said, hey, this is what we agreed upon. Let's see if we can break this down a little bit more. So we got back with the contractor. They itemized everything that they did, and we submitted that back to Tasby. So that final number hasn't come back to us, but it won't be $53,000. I hope to get back to the $25,000 mark, but I'm still waiting on that. So we refused that bill at this time.
Good job.
Okay.
Good
Thank
job. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you,
Great.
Ken.
glad I asked.
Are there any other questions on
That's
the
a great question.
vouchers?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the financial statements and budget amendments be approved.
I have a motion to approve the financial statement and budget amendments. Do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second from Mr. Shearer. Anybody have any questions that we need to ask? Any other discussion?
I guess I've tried to kind of stepped on her toes. I know we had the Vision 2030 before. I'm
That's
sorry,
okay.
Brandy. Go ahead.
I can just give you a summary of the Vision 2030.
Okay,
I'm
let's
sorry.
do that. How about that?
We haven't had much activity since we met last, but we did receive $500,000 from XTO from our foundation. And then as far as expenditures, the biggest one was for $16,375 for the demolition of the apartments across the street.
Okay.
And I think we are finally done with that project. That was the last pay app.
And we apologize. We're trying to work through this as everyone else is, so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Brandy, that's on us, but great job there.
All right. And that's all the financial information.
Okay. Now, Gary,
Quarterly investment reports.
you want to go ahead and do the quarterly investment report?
I sure can.
Okay.
Okay, so we are bringing forward to you the quarterly investment report. It's our second quarter ending February 29th, 2020. We've got our investments by class. Our total market value in our portfolio at February 29th was $38,095,000, with $745,000 of that in CDs, $7,455,000 in municipal bonds, $12,085,000 in money markets, $16,809,000 in the public investment pools, and then $1 million in U.S. agencies. If we move on to the portfolio holdings by asset class, it's on page 3 of the investment report. You can see that 44.26% of our investments are in pools, 31.82% are in the money market. We have 19.33 in the muni bonds, 2.63 in U.S. agencies, and then 1.95% in CDs. And this is all as of February 29th. So moving on to page 6 of the investment report, we get into our earnings and our rate of return. This quarter, we have brought in $118,000 worth of interest earned, bringing us to a total of $254,000 for the year. We budgeted at the beginning of the year $445,000. So we're sitting at about 55% of that budget being received through February. Our annualized yield is 1.86%, and then the benchmark yield is 1.41%. Then we get into page 7 of the investment report, which is our distribution by maturity range. You can see that 89% of our investments are in 0 to 12-month maturity ranges, and then 11% are in the 1 year to out to 4 years. Are there any questions on the investment report?
Mr. Chairman, I move be approved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the financial statements, budget amendments, and quarterly investment report. Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed would say no. All right, financial statement and budget amendments along with our quarterly investment report are approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our informational items. Ms. Kim McKay.
Good evening. It's great to see all of you. Annually, law enforcement agencies are required to present racial profiling data to their governing body. It doesn't require a vote. It's just simply presentation of information. Racial profiling centers around traffic stops only. We are a law enforcement agency that protects and serves a campus community that's surrounded by public streets. And there are times when we have to have a traffic stop because the behavior on the public street surrounding the campus is putting our campus constituents and stakeholders at risk. And so tonight I present the report that should be in your board packet. We only reported 2 traffic stops where racial profiling was required, both male, both Anglo, both consented to search, one of which resulted in contraband. This report is just for your review. No approval is required, but I will entertain questions.
Any questions for Ms. McKay? Okay. I hear none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to review tax increment finance registry annual report. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, what this is basically, every year the city has to is required to give a report, and this basically gives the information. It's pretty standard form. It just shows you how much property is in the investment zone, how much property was added during the previous year, how much new property, those type of things, how much is tax exempt. Anyway, that's in that report, and there hadn't been a whole lot of activity in that zone this year. So, but we do have to, I think, officially accept the report. So we accept the report.
I have a motion to accept the report on the review of tax increment finance as written by Mr. Johnson. I need a second. There's a second from Mr. Shearer. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed will say no. Okay, it is approved. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Education report, Odessa College's response to COVID-19. Dr. Tremaine Anderson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So my purpose this evening is to give a report of the continuity plan for Odessa College. So I have been here 6.5 weeks, and to date, Odessa College is leading the charge to continue to uphold its mission, and that is to lead the way in preparing our students and community for the future. In doing so, we are offering exemplary courses, programs, and also services to assist for our students in achieving their educational goals and becoming lifelong learners. This also includes, in the age of the COVID crisis, to ensure the health and safety of our students, employees, stakeholders, while also prioritizing access, learning, and completion. So beginning March 12th, the college has been making the necessary changes and continues to modify to meet the needs of the institution. After the return from spring break, the admin team created operational guidelines by levels that really focused on working within modified operations. Upon return, when we're starting spring 2, the college operated on the level yellow, which began to shift and move our college operations, including moving all of instruction that was face-to-face and hybrid to online learning. And we were able to do a really quick turnaround because Odessa College was already at a great spot technologically to make the position. OC Global and the PLC and the work of the faculty who continue to teach their classes using Blackboard Collaborate continued on in helping our students reset and also looking at our learning outcomes. Not only was our faculty ready to make this transition, but also during this time, the transition with our student services area with specific internal community campaign, OC Cares, as you see on the screen here, was there to meet our needs with students. With this, we were able to offer and still are offering free Wi-Fi services that is now available in OC parking lots. And at the end of March, we saw that with our Wrangler Food Pantry, we were able to meet the need of 106 households, helping 311 people. Along with that, the Odessa College Foundation emergency funds for OC students was able to meet the needs of 74 students, totaling $37,000. Financial aid has, in this time of COVID, has the option for students to set up virtual appointments, and along with that, in the testing center, students are able to have the option to take the Texas Success Initiative assessment from home. Other activities that are keeping our students engaged, as you see here is with OC Cares, is providing activities such as Odessa College Wrangler Bingo, and we also have other activities that are going on virtually. So during really the last week of March proved to be a turning point for the college as we moved from the level yellow with modified campus accessibility to level orange. And this is where we saw a more increase in modified campus activity and also the increase in remote employee access. At this point, all instruction moved online, and this also meant that our face-to-face labs were suspended, and we had more than 50 unique sections in total that were affected. Most of the programs in instruction that were affected came from the School of Health Sciences and the School of Business and Industry, and those labs were put on an emergency pause, and I'll explain that a little bit later on. There are still continuing the lecture and didactic, the teaching portion of the course, it is still continuing, even though that the labs are paused. Along with this, how were we able to make this transition? The Professional Learning Center was instrumental in helping to leverage the move to online remote learning in a matter of days, and they continue to provide exceptional professional development. These opportunities are not only just for faculty, but it's also for staff as well. All of this was done virtually within days. The Learning Resource Center, the LRC, also along with this continues to provide exemplary services to students in the form of tutoring, which is now being done virtually. The LRC and the testing center remain open during this time using CDC guidelines for social distancing and limiting capacity. So this just shows you an outline of those hours and the online learning support that we're continuing to meet the needs of our students. At this point, the college responded to COVID-19 with 2 institutional clauses that really focused on students. The first is the students in COVID-19 special circumstance / emergency option, which is a very long statement I just said. But what this does is it allows our college to remain focused on fulfilling our mission and providing quality education and support to our students. And we do this by multiple instructional platforms and also modalities. What this institutional clause does is that we offer students that are in 16-week courses that were either hybrid or face-to-face, the opportunity when it moved to online to retake the course after they have actually completed the course. They have to meet specific standards of completing all assignments, actively participating and taking the final exam or its equivalent. The students must retake the 16-week course within 1 year of completion of the 2020 course. And so this is a really unique opportunity with our institutions to provide another way for our students to complete here at OC. The second institutional response that we offer is the emergency pause, and we call it the EP. So the emergency pause is intentionally designed for students that are affected by COVID-19 who are unable to complete the on-campus lab portion of the course. As of April 3rd, as you know, all on-campus labs were suspended based on our state guidelines. Under this clause, the students must attend the non-lab portion, so that means the teaching is continuing except the non-lab, for the remainder of the spring 2020 semester. Following the end of the semester, the school deans, all 3 schools, along with faculty, are completing completion plans. We are continuing to work in this emergency pause environment, but after it is lifted, hopefully that's sooner than later, permission will be given to resume the labs. All lab safety protocols that we were using before the emergency pause and the social distancing standards will and can be used. We have also expanded the current design for completion protocol that has now included remote employee assignments. The college has leveraged the D4C plan as a means of communication with our students. The D4C team is working to check in and check up on our students, ensuring that they started the second spring term strong and also are ending spring 2. With the collaboration of faculty, our success coaches, and other remote employees, we have successfully reached out to every student and continue in the Office of Instruction an ongoing protocol to reach out to students that may be falling behind. Now, there's a couple of slides that I are going to talk a little bit about because I know Dr. Williams has a more elaborate presentation, but communication went out April the 2nd regarding graduation and the postponement of graduation for the May ceremony. The college is committed to having an in-person celebration, but we would like to do so when events are considered safe. OC students can continue to participate virtually in the Drive to Success with the Search for the Staying DTS codes throughout many of our student virtual events. Students are able to earn points online until the end of the spring semester. We believe that more than ever, this is the opportunity for students to engage with Odessa College and to have the opportunity to earn prizes for doing things that are proven to increase their overall success in the college. Within the last 2 weeks, our mantra, "Our work continues," has really ignited a flame with the kickoff last week with the virtual invasion book and school supply drive at the college. The drive-up supply was sponsored by the School of Liberal Arts and Education, And I received today the final results that over 3,000 packages of school supplies were donated. In Continuum, Odessa College has also launched its fall campaign that focuses on career and degree pathways that are offered here at the college. The focus of the first part of the campaign is on education and our very own OC to UTPB Teaching in 3 program, which successfully hosted its first virtual event on Facebook Live last week with more than 486 unique views. In the end, the mission of America's community colleges is focused really on 2 areas of commitment. One is access, and the second one is our responsiveness to the community. With OC's institutional and really our instructional response to our students with those institutional clauses that you saw, and student services with OC Cares, we are committing ourselves to find multiple ways to remove academic barriers to students completing their education here at OC. The responsiveness to the community has been demonstrated by our nature of programming that we're continuously doing in our services, which puts us at the center of providing economic and community development, and also, which is a part of our mission, preparing our students and community for the future. With that, there are any questions?
I have one. Concerning the 16-week classes, the students are not going to be able to complete those until you said, what, a year later? Is that?
So actually, they have to complete the 16 weeks. If they're in a 16-week course, they have to finish it. And then once they finish the course, then they will alert their instructor and will talk with student success coaches. They have the opportunity to go back and retake it. And so once they retake it, the grade that they get the second go around will be their final grade. And they have up to a year to do so, to retake the course.
And we're doing that in hopes that we get more face-to-face with them, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
If needed.
If needed, right,
Feels
right,
it's
yes,
needed.
sir. It's optional for the student, but yeah, that's a great option. If I could just say a few things about this. First, you did a great job, Dr. Anderson. We're glad to have you.
Yes.
But the one thing that I will say is you made a very, very difficult situation sound very easy, and that's just a testament to the work that all of you are doing up here in the times that we're in. If you see the levels that Dr. Anderson is showing us, Dr. Williams has made a lot of decisions based on state mandates. So when we were yellow and we had to go to orange, it was because of the state mandates and the fact that the Permian Basin had started to see actual cases of COVID-19. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure everybody understood Dr. Williams didn't just make those decisions. It's really mandated, and that's how we responded. It wasn't easy. We were both on the phone for quite a while because that's a tough decision to not be face-to-face with students. The second thing that I have, and it's in the form of a question, and I don't know if maybe you can answer me, but somebody might answer me, and this is really just because I want to help if I can. How is our supply of food in our food pantry through all of this?
I am going to let Mrs.
Kim
Kim
McKay
McKay
go.
answer.
I thought so.
Absolutely.
The food pantry supply is strong. We
Okay.
had a local drive with our campus using the All-In program to have employees donate money to the food bank so that we could purchase additional supplies. The West Texas Food Bank has been phenomenal in creating opportunities for us to receive supplies by the way of boxes to hand out to students and limit the amount of personal interaction. I just am going to take one note of privilege. I don't even know if that's the right way to say this, but I know you hear the honking horns outside. Those are students from OC Tex, our early college high school. Tonight is their virtual parade, and they're celebrating outside. We have employees and teachers that are waving them on and giving them the hope they need to finish strong. We expect close to 68 of those students to receive their associate's degrees before they receive their high school diplomas.
Kim, could you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
Sure.
And they can honk all they want. We're good with that.
Yeah. The food bank is open on Wednesday from 3 to 5. In March, we served more students and more families than we've served in the previous months that we've been open. So much needed resource. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you. And Ms. McKay, if you would kind of keep me informed of that so we can stay on top of it. Thank you. Okay, it's time for Dr. Wood's institutional effective report. I've missed this, Dr. Wood. I was told to say that. And I didn't know you were going to gear up.
You bet. I was disappointed when I was listening to Kim McKay that I thought those horns were about the institutional effectiveness report that
Me
was
too.
coming back up, but I guess not. Listen, what I'm doing is I'm modeling Fab Lab creation, the shields that Dr. Deaver had recommended that we look into early on. And we have now producing hundreds of these every week and distributing them to, I think we've got Texas Tech University. I think Dr. Deaver, your practice has some. And we will be using some, Dr. Williams will talk more about, again, like you said, Tommy, we sort of take our marching orders from other folks right now, from the governments and all the rest of it telling us, can we open, what can we do? But at some point, we will hopefully be able to open our front doors again and welcome students, but we'll need to do so in a way that acknowledges that the COVID-19 is a very, very serious challenge. It's interesting to me that I used to teach microbiology, right? And I would teach about the bubonic plague and the pandemic that was there in the 1918, 1919 times. Never occurred to me that I'd actually experienced it in real life. And more than that, the tools that we have to right now to combat this virus are not dissimilar to the tools that they had back in the bubonic plague era. In other words, we have to distance ourselves physically, and for those that get affected, stay quarantined. It's very, very humbling to realize that nature can attack us in new ways, or in old ways, in new situations and dynamics that really do have a strong impact on us. And keeping the college going and keeping people engaged in this new environment is very difficult. It's not easy because we know that not only is our community suffering potentially from a pandemic, but also, as we all know, the oil and gas industry right now is going through probably the worst time, at least from a pricing a barrel of oil perspective, we've ever seen in the Permian Basin. So it's a very interesting challenge. What I want to do from institutional effectiveness is, and Dr. Anderson explained all of this to you a little bit earlier, that the campus facilities are closed. When we're looking ahead for spring 2, Maymester, summer, fall, without a change in the government's mandate or requirements for us, we would be looking at campus facilities closed, no face-to-face or hybrid classes, no lab classes, instructors working remotely, and so on. And Dr. Williams will address this in terms of the different options we have going forward and what we know at this point in time. But what I wanted to show you is that while we are very much aware and very much involved with helping our staff and students manage themselves through this time of COVID-19, we came into this in a very, very interesting way. If you look just before the COVID shutdown struck us, our enrollment in spring 1, because we had gotten through spring 1, this occurred just after spring 1, start of spring 2, our enrollment in spring 1 was the best spring 1 ever. And then our instructors brought it home from the standpoint that our success rates, we had the best spring 1 ever, over 83% success rates. Our drop rates were, again, the best spring 1 ever. So it's an amazing, exciting kind of thing to see that on those basis, we came into the COVID shutdown in a very strong position. And if we look at the Spring 1 online success rates for online education, again, in Spring 1, we were still doing face-to-face and online together, but our online success rates in Spring 1 were also the best we had ever had. In other words, we came into the time of COVID in a very, very strong position. And if we look at Spring 2 enrollment, now this enrollment is occurring now in the sense that the students enrolled are doing the online classes, distance learning right now. Our enrollment numbers for Spring 2 were the best Spring 2 ever. For the first time, we had over 4,000 unduplicated students. First time we cracked that barrier in Spring 2. And then upcoming Maymester enrollment, last year, 2019, we had the best Maymester ever. And as of this morning, our Maymester enrollments so far are up over 24% over last year, which was the best Maymester ever. An extraordinary statement by the students to say, hey, we want to come to classes. When we look at the enrollment categories for summer 1 and 2 and fall, they're behind where we were at the same time last year. And it may very well be, if we look at the tea leaves of Maymester, we look at the tea leaves that include Spring 2 enrollment, it may be that in this time of uncertainty with both the COVID virus on top of us and the huge unemployment rates that we're experiencing, the students are going to be waiting more towards the last minute before enrolling. But so far, I like to say that our students have stayed with us. We have not seen an increase in drop rates. They are doing very well, and under the leadership of our instructive team and our new instructive team, I'm confident that we're going to see more enrollments, increasing enrollments, and we'll come out the other side of this in very strong shape. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Before Dr. Wood stands down, I'd like to remind the board, and Dr. Wood, you can respond to this, but I know we've been through a lot over the last 6 weeks to 2 months. But if you'll recall, last summer, we went into the laboratory and we decided that we needed to get better. We knew that we were performing at a really high level nationally, but we decided intentionally that we needed to get better. And if you'll recall, we talked about having the best year ever. You remember that? That was our theme as we started last fall. And if you'll look at the numbers that Dr. Wood is talking about, we've put up some of the best performances that we've ever had. And what is heartbreaking, but also at the same time exciting, was that we had to adjust in this last term. I mean, we could have had a really, really nice year statistically, but that's me crying in my milk. But but I appreciate the work that this team has done, and it exemplifies what Dr. Wood did, standing in as interim of VPI, the entire faculty, Robert Rivas and team with the Professional Learning Center, Ken Zardner moving into a role. We lost one of the most impactful employees we've ever had. Kim McKay and her team continuing with student services and making the best of everything that we had to offer, and on and on and on. And I simply wanted to highlight that. And then if you think about what Dr. Fuentes was able to do with the Teaching in 3 program, we've had a really, really good year, a really impressive year. But I wanted to remind us, because I know we're dealing with some acute problems now, but I wanted to reflect that there's a reason we've been able to hold up, and we're going to continue to fight into the Maymester and summer. But Dr. Wood, if you want to respond to any of that.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. And Tommy, you said something very important a little bit ago in the fact that we're behind the scenes work very hard to continue to keep the operations going, and Dr. Anderson indicated how many things that we've been doing. I hope you appreciate that these data show that our teams from at every level, we're performing at the highest level in terms of student outcomes and student enrollments and everything else. So we came into Obviously, we didn't want to have this kind of thing happen, but who knew? We came into this time of COVID very, very strong in all of the key critical areas in terms of delivering education to our community. And it was no accident that we were able to pivot, as Dr. Anderson said, in just days. In days, we transformed every single class from face-to-face hybrid into distance learning, and we did so at an incredibly high quality because of everybody was already working at a very high quality. So I, for one, am very proud of what everyone has done and what we've been able to accomplish in this time of COVID.
Dr. Wood, I'll say it again. It's when we experience so much good for so long, we sometimes lose sight of how hard people work to make that good happen. And I will say that just thinking about the meeting today, one of my thoughts were this COVID-19 just brought out how great of a staff and administration team we have at Odessa College to just be where we are right now, given the new field we're playing on. So they just showed even more about why they're as great as they are. And that's been just a pleasure to hear and watch and listen. So pass it on from me and the board that, hey, it's easy to lead when things are going great. They've proven they can lead when they're not, and we couldn't be happier with that.
On behalf of all the team, thank you.
All right. Dr. Wood, as much as I appreciated that, the real reason we're here. President's report, Dr. Williams.
Don't forget that, Dr. Wood.
He paid me to say that.
It might be different next meeting, it changes. So. Thank you, Mr. Clark. OC receives, my president's report is weird. I want to go up there and get in the screen and start giving the report, but I guess it's probably better if I'll stay here since there's nothing over there for me to do. But I have a number of things I'll share with you tonight, beginning with the United Way Awards. Odessa College received several awards at the United Way annual meeting and celebration on February 25th. And that was back in the day when we would gather together. If you all recall that was a beautiful moment in time. We were again awarded the Dick and Amelia Salisbury Sustained Excellence Award. OC also received the award for the best average contributions in excess of $100 per employee. While society doesn't usually celebrate participation awards, Odessa College is happy to have also received the Gold Cup Award for the highest employee participation in our community at 98.9%. That's pretty cool participation. Drive to Success Mustang giveaway event. In a normal year, some lucky student would have recently become the owner of a brand new Ford Mustang, actually last week. And that will happen soon. We will honor the top 10-point earners at the end of the semester. Those students will help us promote the program through the summer. The finalist drawing is tentatively scheduled for August 18th, with the Mustang giveaway tentatively scheduled for September 3rd. We look forward to celebrating with the next winner. It's interesting how we continue to tell Dr. Anderson that back in the day, we were a really cool college, and we did a lot of great things back in the day. Fab Lab contribution. The Fab Lab partnered with two groups, Shields for Souls and United to Help. These groups include doctors, nurses, engineers, business owners, and almost anyone with a 3D printer. While many own 3D printers, most don't have the laser cutters or the materials it takes to make the transparent parts of the face shields that our medical personnel are so in need of at this time. Thanks to a generous $9,000 donation from Chevron, the Fab Lab is now the Permian Basin's largest source of this material. Fab Lab Director Nicholas Harrison and a small group of volunteers have been making and assembling face shields for distribution to area health facilities. We will now have a video about the continuation of our work. Or we're not going to be able to have the sound tonight? Now we have sound.
Today's students are tomorrow's nurses, welders, engineers, teachers, firefighters, and police officers. Their education must continue. We reach our students with new technology. Classes must continue. We are distanced, but not divided. Our work continues.
If you'll note, that message is on the T-shirts you received tonight, and that has been something that we realize that this community needs us. They've needed Odessa College for 75 years, and COVID-19 is not going to stop that. So our work will continue. And as we've shared with you recently, despite the challenges, our work goes on. It continues. Our students and our community depend on us and will need us more than ever as we move through these difficult times. So we are prepared for that. Last but not least, and if you'd like to ask any questions, feel free to do so, but you've heard a number of our reports tonight referring to what happens after April, what happens next as our communities start to reopen, quote unquote, in the United States. And many of you might have heard the governor's orders from yesterday in his report. We continue to monitor what the governor is saying. I meet with the county judge and the mayor on a regular basis, actually on a weekly basis. We listen to every news report that we can as we try to manage and monitor where we go from here. So as we complete the spring 2020 semester in such a unique fashion, we will move our attention and focus to our Maymester. You've heard about the numbers there. Summer and fall semesters. Continuing to operate under CDC and Governor Abbott's guidelines and orders. We are planning to slowly begin to offer some controlled face-to-face class offerings where appropriate, while also phasing in some face-to-face services to our students, as we said, in a very safe fashion. As you know, we have a number of levers that we have to deal with. We have a number of limitations that we have to deal with and be aware of. We have the concerns of our students to think about. We have the concerns of the community. We also have to, again, abide by the governor's orders, the mayor's orders, as well as the community expectations. And I think we've done really well with that. Our tendency is to be a bit aggressive, and we'd like to do more, but we also know there's a time to stop. But then you also need to know when to start again, because we will be needed on the other side of this. There will be a number of people who are out of work who need to get back into a learning environment. I've told the team from day one of this crisis that there were two competing problems happening at the very same time. One being a medical one, the other being an economic one. And they both are very, very important and critical. And we've tried to keep our eyes on both. So if you have any questions about anything or any concerns, then we'll try to answer those.
I just want to say that I appreciate you guys so much, because you have helped out the medical community and the surrounding community with what the Fab Lab has been able to do, and just can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, that I didn't realize, I guess, that we were doing that. That is fantastic.
Oh,
it just shows you the commitment that Odessa College has to not only students, but the community itself, and that's just great leadership. That's unbelievable. Can't say how much I appreciate that.
Probably a lot of that, though, would not be possible if the community didn't step up, so the community knows the value of Odessa College
That's
and what we
right.
do out here, so they were willing to step forward. Chevron, some of those that step forward with not only money, but materials and things like that.
That's
So
right.
I think it all works together from the standpoint that we provide what the community needs, and we provide it in an excellent way. But the community realizes that, so they're willing to step forward and say, hey, you know, we can get Odessa College to do it. We'll know they'll do it with excellence, and they'll do it with,
Yeah.
you know, gun ho. So I think it all works together.
Great
That's
point.
what we're talking about.
Great point.
And as we move forward, keep in mind that we're about to go into our version of COVID 2.0. And not only here in Odessa and Odessa College, but the entire country and the world. And that is going to be a moment where we will need to live with a bit of COVID around us, while also being safe. So as we do prepare to turn the valve a bit and reopen some in terms of face-to-face operations, our plan is to put out a video that will share with our public exactly what we're doing and the precautions we're taking to protect not only our team here at Odessa College, but also the community and the people we will interact with. We will utilize tools from the Fab Lab. We will utilize disinfectants. We will utilize social distancing. We will utilize face masks. We will use every tool possible to help in those interactions when we come in contact with the community, and we will let them know that, because again, we need to educate people, but we also need to be safe.
Greg, I think one of the things that I have watched in our community, even though we have asked people to wear masks, there's a great propensity for people not to wear a mask unless they are forced to do so. And I'm sure that in our opening up, we're going to explain that that is a requirement on the campus. I wish that there was a way that we could enforce it in our community, because people are just brazen not to wear the masks. And that's an obvious visual that people are trying to participate by putting those masks on. So I applaud you for that, and I look forward to seeing that video. Good.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, if not, at this time, I will make a motion that the Board of Trustees go into executive session. Can I have a second?
I'll make the motion, we go into executive session.
Okay. You have a second? Okay. We'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed will say no. Okay. We're going to go into executive session, and we want to keep Eric and Gene and Dr. Williams?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you need me now?
this team. We were to COVID. Yeah.
No, I think the way to say that in such a way that we come out at the very top.
Yeah, no, I agree. At this time, I'm going to request a motion for appointments. So can I get a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the appoint for another year, Dr. Tremaine Anderson, Ms. Kim McKay, Mr. Robert Rivas, Dr. Donald Wood, Mr. Ken Zardner, Dr. Fuentes, and Jackie Gore.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any need for discussion or questions or comments?
The only discussion I have is that we see how great of a job they've done, especially in these last several weeks. We knew that before, but they really stepped forward. I'm extremely proud to make that motion, so.
Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed will say no. Okay, all appointments are approved.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Dr. Williams contract for another year.
Okay, I have a motion to extend Dr. Williams' contract through year 2025. I need a second. I have a second. Thank you, Dr. Devers. Any need for any further discussion? Okay, let's go to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed would say so. None being heard, that request is also approved.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. First, I want to thank everyone for their patience with us tonight. We had a lot to do, and I want to also thank the IT team for pulling this. This is better than the NFL draft. I mean, I think it couldn't have went better, other than we didn't really.
I don't know if we can give them that much
I
credit
think,
now. That draft was pretty
this
good.
is going to be an exceed. It's going to be an exceeds requirement note from the board. We really appreciate all you've done. Everyone that's listening and everyone that's in the other room, you don't know how much we miss seeing you guys. But know, even though we don't get to see you like we want to, we still support you every step of the way. So with that being said, I will thank you guys all again, and I hope you have a great week and the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Did we say the same thing to Greg?